Hi everybody, welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel and welcome back to the match previews. This week we will be taking a look towards the Wolves game, which is Newcastle's second away game of the season. I'm Scott, I'll be your host for this evening, and tonight we are joined by Iain and Deka. Iain, how are you, my friend?
Very good. I've just put me out of office on until the 6th of September, so absolutely loving life at the minute.
Get in. It's no better, no better feeling than putting that little out of office on and it just forgetting all your worries. Deka, how are you, my friend?
I'm very good, mate. Yes, I'm very good. Happy we're through to the next round, so that's always positive.
Yep.
My out of office is definitely not on at the moment, so I'm not living the dream like Iain is.
Yeah, neither am I. Neither's mine, unfortunately, and it'll be a while until it is as well. These match previews we do every single week, or multiple times a week if you have a midweek match, and it's one of many videos that we do on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. If this is the type of content that you like, please consider becoming a subscriber to the channel. It's absolutely free to do so, and all you need to do is just scroll down from this video and hit the big red button where that says subscribe. Whilst you're there, there's another couple of things that you can do. You can either give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whether you like or dislike this video. And you can also hit the little bell notification to be notified when we post new videos. We have a whole host of content, a plethora of content throughout the weeks, all throughout the season, as well as the World Cup. So it's really something to get a notification for. Before we get started, I do just need to let you all know that the Gallowgateshots match preview is now sponsored by Magpin Badges. Magpin Badges are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial enamel pin badges of Newcastle players, legends, and retro kits. For more information, you can go to magpinbadges.bigcartel.com. Right, all that YouTube malarkey is out of the way. Let's.
That was very smoothly done there, Scott. That was very
Seamless.
Let's move on to the preview. So, on Sunday afternoon, Newcastle United will travel to Wolverhampton, across the other side of the country, where we will be obviously playing Wolverhampton Wanderers, also known as Wolves. Iain, what are your thoughts going into that Wolves game?
Usually I'm not that confident going down to Wolves. It's always been a bit of a tricky place to go. But on the back of Sunday particularly, I don't think there's anything to fear at all. I think we've obviously shown that we can compete with arguably the best team in Europe. Not even compete, where I thought for a good portion, definitely of the first half and start of the second half, we absolutely battered them. So I think we'll be going down there in a lot of confidence. Obviously, yes, but at the time of recording, yesterday's result against Tranmere wasn't as pretty, but still, it's a victory. So the morale, I think, will be really good. So I would hope I'm a little bit more hopeful than what I usually would be.
Nice. Yeah, like you said, the momentum is there, and it continued last night in the UEFA Cup. Not quite. The EFL Cup, the Carabao Cup, against Tranmere. Deka, did you see that game last night?
I did, yes, I did. It was, for me, it was very much, I think, what we expected, in regards to the performance. I think when you've seen the lineup, you know there's going to be a difference in class, isn't there? The quality's not really going to be there. I still thought that they worked hard. They still were. They were certainly up for it. There was just that lack of quality. I mean, look at the front three. You knew there wasn't going to be much getting created. And I felt in large parts we couldn't really live up to the physicality of them in certain parts of the game. I mean, they were dirty, and there's the term of physical and there's dirty, and I think they were more leaning towards dirty side. But at the end of the day, that we got the job done. But the sad thing I always think is there was a few injuries there as well. And
Yep.
I think that's another reason why back in the day, we've said many times that we want to go for cups and we want to be seeing our managers play a full strength team and stuff like that. But you can understand why they don't. It's so obvious why they don't do that. So I'm glad we're through, but obviously there's a little bit of knocks there. I think that could trouble with as a squad anyway moving forward.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, in these early rounds when you play or potentially play those lower league sides, they're out to do anything they can to get that win. So like you say, things do sometimes turn a bit on the dirty side in terms of challenges. There's a lot of late challenges, a lot of blatant fouls last night. We seem to have picked up at least one, absolute injury in Emil Kraft who was stretchered off, unfortunately, last night. And obviously, Jamal Lascelles knows. I don't know if you've seen his interviews today that were posted from last night, but if he isn't concussed, I don't know what concussed is, because he couldn't even remember his own name. I'm very surprised the club put that video out, if I'm being honest with you. But he's probably a doubt for the game on Sunday, if he was even in contention to begin with. But we'll come to the lineup a bit later on. We'll actually talk about Wolves first of all. So they're going into this on a bit of a bad run. They've played 3 games, I believe it is, or 4 games. They've still haven't got a win, and they've only scored 1 goal, and they have 1 draw, which was against Fulham. Their other 2 games against Leeds and Tottenham, I believe, Deka, you saw the Tottenham game. They were quite good against Tottenham, certainly in the first half, he said. How do you think we're going to fare against Wolves?
I think what Iain said there, I think, you look at the start we've had. I mean, we're unbeaten. We've had an incredible performance, I felt, against Forest. Obviously, I know people might say they're not the strongest of opposition, but, we made them look ordinary, which isn't something we're used to seeing, making teams look ordinary, and I felt we did. Brighton was obviously a tougher test. City was incredible on Sunday. I just feel that we've, our tails are going to be up. I mean, we're going to be going in there with confidence, and we've got players that can hurt teams. And I always say that if you've got the likes of Maxi on form, you've got Bruno in the team. Almiron's obviously got abundances of pace, but there's a little bit more quality there coming from him. We know we can hurt them. And having said that, though, I appreciate, obviously, Wolves haven't won; they've only scored 1 goal, but honestly, against Spurs in that first half, they were very, very good. They absolutely battered them. I think at half time, I think they had 12 shots to their 1 or something like that. And if they just had that striker, that clinical striker, they would have been potentially out of sight. So, but I'm still confident, though. I generally think we could extend this unbeaten run and maybe even pick up 3 points. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, you mentioned about Wolves not having the striker. They have had a few injuries which are potentially due back against us. You've got, Raul Jimenez, Moutinho, Semedo, and Traore all ready to come back into the squad, which, you mention Wolves players, or you think of Wolves players, they're probably the first 4 that'll come to mind, other than, maybe it's Neto, and I can't remember the other guy.
Neves,
that's it. Bit of a Ruben Neves. Yeah, he likes a shot from outside the box. Are you worried, Iain, that the return of these players will boost Wolves a bit and give them a bit more of a kick than what maybe they would have done had those players not been available?
I think there's the sort of the opportunity. I think it's the same for every club. If big players come back, it doesn't just lift fans; it lifts the rest of the squad.
Yeah.
So I think I'm sure Jimenez might have scored in the cup in midweek, so that'll be sort of a good confidence boost for him. And like you say, Ruben Neves is very dangerous. Traore, for all that he's massive, he's very quick. He can be dangerous. So they do have players to hurt you. But I think a lot of Newcastle fans, even myself, are kind of still stuck in the era of what we've previously been. Whereas under Howe, I feel we're very, very regimented, even in tricky games. So I would like to see that. I think it'll be a good challenge, but I'm the same as Deka. I think possibly 3 points are on the card. The only slight concern that I have is obviously now Callum Wilson's out. I'm sure we'll touch on sort of this, like you say, the lineups a little bit later, where your goals are going to come from. I know obviously a couple of people have added to that, but without Wilson, really, I thought we were looking, particularly in pre-season, and some of the games that I've seen would sort of look like we had run out of ideas. So that's my only concern, but I think we've probably got enough to at least get a point.
Absolutely. I think it was Traore who scored on Tuesday.
That was a screamer.
And it was a great goal as well, on the volley. From what I remember, it kind of dinked up from, and he's in the middle of the box and he just whacked it. And he's had a year at Barcelona, so he's obviously been learning some new tricks whilst over in Spain. You mentioned about kind of, us losing Callum Wilson, and also the mindset of previous eras. Obviously, the last time we travelled to the Molineux was under the previous ownership, and it was actually the last game of the previous ownership. It was a 2-1 defeat with 2 goals from Hee Chan Wang and good old Jeff Hendricks. scoring his one and only goal for that season, I believe, and it was the last game of the Ashley era. I think it was literally the week later that the takeover happened. We're expecting different. We're expecting a different performance, I think, and I think if you look back to the game back in, I think it was in February when we played them after the takeover and after the window, it was a much closer game. It was a 1-1 draw. Jamal Lascelles getting a goal, and the guy who I couldn't remember his name, Ruben Neves, picking up a goal as well. When it comes to Wilson, Deka, are you worried that Chris Wood is our only kind of striker at the moment on the books? And I will use the term on the books because as we're recording this, there is a lot of news happening, and we'll come to that in just a few minutes. But does Chris Wood obviously got a goal last night, and it was a beautiful header. A lot of people are praising Trippier for the delivery, but I think also Wood does a lot to get onto that ball and actually steer it in the right direction. But the fact that we just have Wood at the moment as a lone striker, is that a worrying factor for you, Deka?
Well, if I stay true to the current situation, I'll say yes, it does worry us. But I think we all know, obviously we're about to smash a record and obviously get another one in, which would be absolutely amazing. But I just do want to touch on that Wood goal. I think that'll do a lot for him as well. I think it was a great header. It really, really was. And to me, it was like Shearer-esque. To me, it was, it was like the old days. It was a beautiful ball in from Trippier, and he took it really well. I think as well, sometimes, I don't want to be awful or negative here, but I'm not a big fan of Wood, to be honest with you. I'm not, right? But I think when you're up front with Murphy and Richie as well, it ain't going to help him very much either. I think, if he's got better players around him, for example, let's say what this new lad does come in, which we'll touch on later, and doesn't start, and it is what he goes for, I'm fine with that. That's fine. He's got a goal midweek. He's going to have better players around him on this game on Sunday, and that's absolutely fine. And I'm hoping that Wood is able to come in and do a job when he's asked to, because he's not going to start all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, I'd still be quite confident if he came in and started on Sunday. I really would.
You touched on a good point there about the delivery that Wood received from Trippier. And I think that's the one thing that Wood's proven from that goal, is that if you give him the delivery, he can get a goal. And I think that's what we've really been lacking, because usually when Wood comes on, and if he hasn't been starting, it has been when there's other players on the pitch who maybe don't have that quality of caliber to knock that ball into the box as much. Or what we do tend to see is we end up playing the long ball, and he ends up being more of a holding attack to play onto other players, and it just doesn't work. Iain, if you had to play Chris Wood, who would be your ideal kind of, let's say, left and right wingers to partner him?
It's a difficult one, that, because usually, although I think we've got decent quality in wingers, we haven't really seen a lot of deliveries. I think if we go back to last season, obviously Wood featured heavily when Wilson was out, and I don't think we played to his strengths. Don't get us wrong, I think he grafts a lot. I think he's a good grafter, even defensively. I think he possibly, arguably, puts more pressure on the defence than what Wilson has. Again, that could have been Wilson feeling his hamstring, who knows? But obviously, I mean, in general, not just for Wood, but for the team, and based on recent performances, I think St. Maximin picks himself, I thought, against Man City. Deka will be happy to hear this, because I know Deka loves him. I'm a massive critic of him, but I thought he was literally possibly the best game he's ever played for. And then on the other hand side, Almiron, I think, he's got so much effort and endeavour in him, and the criticism was that he wasn't adding goals or assists to his games. Pre-season, he showed a different side to his game, and then even sort of in the game so far, he's looked a lot more intelligent. His runs have been a lot more clever, and he's been linking up really well with Bruno. So I think if we can get them down the channels and get some decent balls in, like I say, St. Maximin put in some really good deliveries against Man City, and Chris Wood's on his game, then I think there's a goal or two for him. I think the goal that he scored against Southampton, I think, was Shelby, who obviously the quality of delivery he has. So if you can, like I say, get that quality of delivery, there's definitely goals to be had for Chris Wood.
Absolutely. I think my only concern with Chris Wood playing with Maxi, I think you can see on the pitch there isn't a chemistry there at all. It's almost as if they don't like each other. And I'm not saying that that's what it is, but when you see them on the pitch, they're always kind of barking back and forwards to each other because either Maxi isn't where Wood wants to be or Wood isn't making the runs that Maxi wants so he can play him in. So I think there's a lot, they've got a lot to learn from each other. And I think it's something that Eddie Howe's probably worked on with them. It's probably still a big work in progress. I don't maybe think Eddie Howe was banking on having to rely on Wood as much as he possibly will do over the next 3 to 4 weeks, because it has come out today that Wilson is out for 3 to 4 weeks with his hamstring, and let's hope it's a Wilson 3 to 4 weeks, not a Shelby 3 to 4 weeks. Otherwise, they'll be out till February.
I think I just want to touch on one thing there. Sorry, Scott.
Yeah,
about
sure.
Wood. About Wood. I think as a team, I think it can be hard. I think sometimes obviously we're set up with Wilson up front. Obviously Wilson's in behind. He's a totally different forward to Wood, and we're obviously geared up to play a certain way with him. And when he's not there, especially in a match, obviously if you've got a week to prepare for it, can be different. But in a game to then put him on, I just feel that some of the players are not really. We're just not geared up to play with a target man almost, because we're so used to having this Wilson style striker. And obviously when you play with basically inside forwards, really, again, sometimes the delivery is not going to be coming in as often, the crosses. I know Maxi did for Alma on the weekend there, but your whole style has to play change as a team to get the best out of Wood, and that's not always easy. Like,
it's not, and I think one of the areas where we struggle is to get players around Wood when that ball is coming towards him, when he is playing in that holding role. I think the likes of Joe Willock and to an extent even Bruno could do a little bit better in getting closer to him, because he's going to win pretty much every ball that you play towards him, because he's like 8 foot tall, right? He's going to win most balls. So you've got to have someone next to him to get those knockdowns. And I think, the two wingers are too wide. You've got to rely on the box to box midfielders to be box to box and actually get the ball to him. So it'd be interesting to see if we start with Willock, and like I said, we'll come to the lineups later on, if he can get closer to Wood and actually win on those balls. And like I said, I'm sure Eddie Howe's been working on this all week, because he would have known from Sunday that Callum Wilson probably wouldn't be playing this weekend. I'd like to think he'd probably thought that even if he was fit, he would still be able to rest him maybe and kind of scratch it off and maybe start him against Liverpool next week. But like we've said and like we've touched on briefly, there is breaking news throughout today and a bit of yesterday as well, and that is that the Swedish international Alexander Isak, or Isaac, however you want to pronounce it, is set to sign. It's a record-breaking transfer fee of, I believe it's around 63 million euros, which, like I said, if you said that was going to happen when we played Wolves away last season, would laughed in your face, right? We would have absolutely laughed in your face. Well, one, it was outside the transfer window, so it couldn't have happened. But two, the ownership, it just wasn't one of those things. There's been a lot of talk about, this is Newcastle stepping up to the plate. This is a signing that's, a marquee signing that fans have been waiting for. But also, I've seen some quotes today on Twitter saying that this is Newcastle entering that elite state. And while I don't quite think we're there yet, it's one signing. He is quite unproven in the Premier League. Well, he's completely unproven in the Premier League, but he has done it on an international level and at club level. In terms of if he's ready, which it looks ever so likely that he will be ready to be included in the squad on Sunday, Deka, how much of a role do you think he'll play in the game against Wolves? I don't personally see him starting, but I think he might come on, give him 20, 30 minutes if we're struggling for a goal.
Yeah, well, a few things to unpack there, really. So obviously, I agree that Howe would have known that Wilson wouldn't be able to play on Sunday. So, and obviously, he started with Wood, and I bet at that minute when he started Wood, he was thinking, please don't get hurt, because obviously, at that point, going into Wolves, you would have had nobody at all at that point.
Yeah.
I think, given that Wood scored as well, I think Wood will definitely start on Sunday. And I think, yes, he will play some part, maybe 20 minutes, maybe longer if something happened to Wood. But if Wood's able to just, it's fine and he's playing okay and he's not injured or anything like that, I think we may get a cameo like sort of role from him. That's what I would think anyway. I don't see any real point in starting him immediately. In regards to these, I mean, you want about people saying that it makes for elite and things like this is the signing. I mean, to me, I'll still go back to the Trippier signing. I still felt that was the one.
Yeah.
I appreciate maybe not like longevity wise, but that was still a signing where I thought, whoa, that's not what I expected. He's too good for us. Then Bruno then came in, who again had this sort of status from a lot of people, and he's proven that already. And then this is like another one on that, and you just see we're just progressing, aren't we? Like little pieces of the jigsaw. It's coming together. It's absolutely unbelievable. Like I still pinch myself now seeing we're spending this type of money, and it's just unbelievable. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, if this comes true, I think it takes our total spend, including January and this window, to around 200 million in pounds. Ian, I don't think a lot of people were expecting us to maybe go all out for a striker at this part of the window, especially not with the rumours that were going on that possibly there was only 20 million left to spend. Has it come as a big of a shock to you as everyone else that we are, putting my hands in my pockets and actually spending this amount of money on one player?
I think so. Like you say, given the rumours of that we only had 20 million to pay up front, but again, how much of that is true? It seems like everyone, sort of, particularly on Twitter and journalism in general, just tries to get the first story out, regardless of how much truth, the element of the truth there is in there.
Yeah.
So based on, like I say, the rumours, it is quite surprising. Obviously, I think we're linked to him quite early in the window. Well, I mean, we've been linked everyone and his dad, haven't we? But I think, given the fact that Wilson got injured, I think we've then looked at and gone, right, we're probably going to be in trouble here. Even, like I say, Wilson's out for a month, still a month without a UK striker, with only one named striker. So I think that possibly had an element to why we went all out. But in agreement with Deka, I think, and yourself, I think he's probably, obviously, if he's registered and he's on the bench or whatever, I think he's going to get a cameo, and it's not really too sort of strange for that happening. If you look at how he brought Bruno in and how he potentially was trying to bring Botman in, and obviously injuries dictated otherwise, you've seen that from him. It seems to be sort of his philosophy is just sort of ease them in. So I think, like you say, if he's down and travels with the squad and whatnot, I think sort of 15, 20 minutes he'll probably get.
Absolutely. And touching more on the actual player himself, I've only really seen him from that Euros where he was outstanding. He scored a couple of great goals against Greece. And I can't remember the other team I saw the goal that he scored against, but he had an outstanding Euros, which kind of brought him into the forefront of a lot of people, where this lad's been eager to bust through, and that was his year. He seemed to have a bit of a lesser, if you look at the numbers, certainly a lesser return last season. I think it was only 4 goals. But if you want more on that player, I would highly recommend you've watched the T4 video that they've done on him, because they've released a video about 2 hours ago on him, how he's going to fit in Eddie Howe's team and all that. And it's really insightful, and it actually gets you even more excited for this guy coming into this team. I feel like if we are going to use him, we could use him in one of 2 ways, because it looks like he's going to be the type of player who likes to sit deep and run at defenders. And I think Maxi's going to absolutely love him for that, because it's going to allow Maxi to sit back in his little bit of space, run forward a bit with the ball, pass it to Isak. Isak can hold it, turn, run with the ball, and then get it back to Maxi and do what he needs. He does also tend to like a shot. He has a very high shot return rate from what I've seen. And again, going from the stats that they had on that, I think The Athletic put a heat map out this morning of him compared to Wilson. And if I've got it, I'll put it up on the screen when I'm editing this. And they're pretty much identical, but he takes a lot more shots. And his defense isn't as good as Wilson, but they're very similar matched. My one concern is, when Wilson's fit, how do they fit them both into the side together? And that's always a concern, because you don't spend 70 million and have it sitting on the bench, unless you really like PSG or Man City, who can afford to do that. If this is your star player and your transfer record break and signing, he's got to start, doesn't he, Deka, even if Wilson's fit?
Honestly, it's exactly what I was thinking as well. It's I'd love to see, wonder what Wilson is thinking about it all. I mean, obviously, all the players will be buzzing that we're getting another player in, certainly if this amount of money and all the rest of it. But it's a real strange one because, like, as you say, when Wilson is back fit, like, to me, Wilson is my guy, right? Like, I absolutely love him, but I appreciate he's not going to be fit. He'll be injured again. There's no question of that. He'll be hurt again. So, and I'm well aware of that. But when they're both back fit, it's Wilson will not be happy, mind you. He'll not be happy because he wants to go to the World Cup. He said it the other day on that podcast I was listening to. Where he said, "You've got Harry Kane, and then it's me." Basically, he holds himself that high, and he won't be wanting to sit on the bench. So it's a real interesting one to see how that's going to pan out because we're never going to play two up front. I can't see. I can't really see how that's going to work. I think one of them's going to be upset. To be honest with you, that's the bottom line. One of them's going to be left out, and for me, I personally think it would be Wilson because I can't see you spending 70 million quid. Oh, sorry, 60 odd million £60 and sitting him on the bench. I just can't see it.
I think the only thing that I would maybe think is that now we've potentially got a player like Wilson who is like for like. Eddie Howe isn't as reliable on Wilson, so we can maybe just rotate a bit more and keep him fit a bit longer. Obviously, you can never rule out freak injuries during a game, but if he's not playing as much, surely he's not going to be as much of a risk. But then you've also got to think match fitness is a thing, and if you're not playing week in, week out, you'll slowly start to lose it. So it's going to be interesting, and no doubt there's going to be a ton of videos from a ton of people throughout the week about this new signing, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. We'll take our focus back to the game on Sunday because this is a match preview. It's not the Alexander Isak show. Lineups when it comes to this, obviously, and I'm going to give a shout out to Daryl because he said there'll be 9 or 10 changes for the Tranmere game, and he got that spot on. Iain, I'll come to you for this. In terms of the lineup on Sunday, do you think it's back to City minus obviously Callum Wilson?
For the most part, yes. The only thing that I was thinking about today is obviously the left back situation.
Yeah.
So we've had Dan Burn fill in there. He's done all right, but he's not a left back. Matt Targett obviously last night got 45 minutes and then was brought off. Whether he was struggling, he wasn't ready for a game, or it was protection. It was always planned that he was only going to get 45 minutes. It remains to be seen. But if he is fit, it then goes back to the question I think we had for the City game when we kind of expected Matt Targett to be back was, does he revert back to him at left back and then who misses out? Because I think Trippier and Shaw are definitely going to feature, and that would have been a toss-up between Dan Burn and Botman. I think the midfield picks itself. Bruno, Joelinton, Willock, and then Almiron, St. Maximum, and then Wood. That would be my team. Obviously, Nick Pope in goal. But the only question for me would be, is Targett fit? If he is, what would be the situation at left back?
Yeah, and I think again, it wasn't anything that Eddie Howe said because his pre-match interview will be at time of our recording tomorrow, so we don't know what news is coming out of there. But from what I've read online, it was always the intention that Targett would get 45 minutes just to kind of get the game back into his legs because he's been out with a dead leg apparently, which a 2-week dead leg seems a long time, but that it is what it is. I was actually really impressed with Jamal Lewis last night. I thought he did a solid job when he came on, and I actually didn't think he put a foot wrong. Deka, when it comes to a lineup tomorrow, especially on that left-hand side, obviously if Targett's fit, you play him, but if not, do you stick with Dan Burn or do you maybe bring on someone like Jamal Lewis to play that game?
For me, you stick with Dan Burn. I wasn't discouraged by what I seen in Lewis by any stretch. It wasn't that. It's just I think you've got to understand that the length of time he's been out, the caliber of opposition we were playing. So it's nice to see him back on there, definitely. But for me, I would stick with Dan Burn if Targett's unavailable. If Targett is available, then that makes your centre half situation. Well, certainly, obviously, we know Shea's going to play, but between Botman and Burn's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of think he'll go back to Burn. I think personally, but the rest of the team, as Iain said, kind of picks itself. I think the player who I'm going to fast forward here for no reason whatsoever. I'm still going to do it. The player who I think really, really does have a future though is Anderson. I really 100%. do. And feel like feel like he could do that Willock role really well, actually. I know Willock's got a bit more pace about him, certainly over the early start, not of a sprint. But I really feel he could do that role like really well, and also that'd be an interesting one. And also, if Wood is starting, and say Target couldn't play, right, so it is Burn left back. If you've got Burn, Botman, Wood, my God, you've got some real dangerous on set pieces, like really big lads. So that again is interesting as well. So, but yeah, I think if Target's fit enough, I think he starts, and I think Burn moves in for Botman. If not, you start Burn out there, and Botman obviously then plays.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Willock's pace. Watching him on Sunday just skip past Kyle Walker like he wasn't even there. I didn't realize he was that fast. And that was with the ball as well. It wasn't like he was running past him just as a sprint. Kyle Walker is not the slowest player in the world. I think we touched on that as well last week. It'll be interesting. I personally think it'll be very similar to the City lineup. And like I say, that left back position is the deciding factor to who plays in centre back. And if it's Matt Target fit, then I think that's where you'll get changes. If he's not fit, then it'll be as is, really. It will certainly be an interesting game to watch. It is live on Sky, I believe, on Sunday. So it's the 1 o'clock Super Sunday game. I always have to figure out times and everything because I'm an hour ahead and my phone and everything's telling me the wrong time. So I'm trying to figure out when that is. I think it's 1 o'clock, but I think it kicks off at 1:30.
1:30 usually, yeah.
So that should be a fun one to watch. So lineups out of the way with. Let's talk about a prediction of a score. And Deka, I'll stick with you. What's your predictions for the game of the weekend?
I'm going to go 2-0 Newcastle. Yeah, 2-0 Newcastle. Yeah, I'm really confident, honestly, and I think a lot of that stems from the whole start, really. I mean, the whole start. We're undefeated. And I appreciate we're going to lose eventually, but Sunday's game was just so impressive. And if we can carry that forward, I honestly think if we can carry that type of form forward, then we'll be able to live with. I really feel that way. So I'm going to go 2-0 Newcastle.
Awesome, Iain. Your prediction?
I'm going to go 1-0. I think, like I say, just echoing what Deka said, we've got the confidence if you can take that from Sunday. The start that we've had, fair enough, obviously, Forest. But my argument for Forest was it's their first game back in 23 years. The likelihood is they would have been up for it. And we're absolutely decimated them. Brighton, albeit not like the caliber of Chelsea or Man City, but when you look at their start, they're unbeaten. I think we've been the only team to take a point off them and keep a clean sheet. And then obviously the 3-3 against Man City. So there's definitely confidence in terms of a performance and getting the results. But I just think with Chris Wood being your focal point, I just think what Deka was saying before, you lack that sort of opportunity to get in behind. So I think it'll be a close game, but I think we'll nick it 1-0.
Awesome. I'm gonna go for a 2-1 win. I think I went 2-1 last week as well, but to Man City. But yeah, I think it'll be 2-1 win to Newcastle. I think it's going to be one of those ones where Wolves will have their tails up, and they'll have that buzz of having their players back, and I think they'll try and hit us early, and I think they will score early. But I think second half will maybe pick them apart a bit more and actually get the 2 goals. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win.
I think there'll be a really good battle between João Moutinho and Bruno, in terms of being able to command that midfield. I think that'll be an interesting battle, because they're very similar players in terms of how they want to dictate the game, and that could be interesting.
They are, and there's also you've got the wings as well with if he starts, you've got Traore, and depending on where they play Jimenez or Neto, you've got those as well as kind of potential lineups against Miggy and Saint, or if you want to go further back, Trippier and Target. I think we're matched quite evenly, and I think Wolves are one of those teams that we should be aspiring to be like, in terms of from when the takeover happened to the rebuild. This is kind of, I think this is all level in terms of the personnel. I think performance-wise, I think we are maybe it's a bit overachieving in terms of last week against City if you put names on paper and stats and everything. But yeah, I think Wolves is always a game that you'd kind of want to look away from and think, oh, that's going to be a tough game. But I think we now have the personnel which maybe make it a bit more evenly matched than what's maybe been in previous years. Awesome. Well, thanks very much, boys. It's been a pleasure as always. It's been a good little chat. If you do like this content, there's plenty more coming throughout the week. You've got the FPL show. There's no extra time this week. Roger is traveling back from Ibiza, so we're going to skip this week and come back next week. And obviously on Monday, you've got the Always Smiling Faces podcast with Deka and the boys, probably going over the game that we've just looked forward to. So enjoy that one. Like I say, if you like this content, be sure to hit the subscribe button at the bottom. It costs you absolutely nothing to do that. And it also allows you to, while you're down there, hit the little thumbs up or the thumbs down button if you've liked or disliked this content. And you can also hit the bell for notifications. If you want to be extra nice, you can also become a member. Our membership program is $2.99 or $4.99 a month. That gets you access to the Telegram group, which today and yesterday has been absolutely manic. There's been so many posts in there about this Alexander Isak. It's been unreal. It's been a really good feel-good room to be in. And it's worth the fee alone just for that. But you also get early access to videos, early access to this match preview, early access to the FPL show, and all sorts of other content throughout the week. Thanks, boys. I really enjoyed this one. Deka, good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, first one I think for me on this preview, so I'll definitely be back. Thanks for having us. Thank you for having us.
Always welcome, whenever you want, mate. And Iain, enjoy your holidays. We'll probably not see you for a couple of weeks. I wouldn't have thought.
It depends how nice Sophie's feeling. I might make a special guest appearance from the hotel room, but we'll be out watching the match. Incidentally, I'm staying literally the hotel that was across the road from Deka when he was away. So he's clued us in on all the bars to go to. So hopefully,
have a great time.
Hopefully there's one there, and it's there's a few Newcastle fans in there as well.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully you can get to see the games at least. And if you can join us, even better. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We will see you in the next one. Have a good one.